Hello everyone. I wish you all the best. One seemingly normal afternoon, Tien and Jack accidentally discovered a box on the side of the road emitting the faint cry of a newborn baby. Thinking it was just a heartbreaking abandonment, they had no idea that behind that child was a secret buried for more than 20 years, and each step they took would bring them closer to the chilling truth. Please follow the story. That afternoon, the gentle sunlight spread across the farm. Jack and Tien took Mr. Dung to the farm. Jack led him along the small path while pointing and introducing, from the old wooden fence along the road to the small stream at the end of the garden. All were areas that the two of them had cultivated and cared for over the years. But after the recent storm, everything was lost, and now the grandchild was having the workers rebuild it from scratch. Mr. Dung walked slowly, his eyes shining with interest and admiration, occasionally nodding slightly to listen to Jack. Meanwhile, Tien took the opportunity to go into the house. She gently opened the cupboard, took out some dry food for the stray cats that she usually took care of. 3 or 4 kittens ran out, meowing to greet her, wrapping around her legs affectionately. She smiled, bent down to pet them, and muttered, "Be good. Mr. Dung will play with you guys later." When returning to the yard, Jack patted Mr. Dung on the shoulder and said firmly, "You can rest assured here. No one will bother you." Tien added, her eyes gentle, "Remember to feed the cats for me. They are used to people." The two turned and walked away, leaving Mr. Dung standing alone in the sunny yard. He watched the two figures gradually disappear behind the trees, sighed softly, and then slowly said to himself, "Tien, how lucky to have a man like Jack." On the winding road back from the farm, the sunset covered the hillside in a peaceful light orange. Tien and Jack sat in the black and white pickup truck, chatting animatedly about this year's harvest. The afternoon wind blew through the window, making the scent of young grass and newly tilled soil blend together, bringing with it a familiar sense of peace. Suddenly, Tien frowned slightly when she saw something lurking on the side of the road. Near the base of a wild tree, she tilted her head to listen, then whispered, "Jack, do you hear something? There's a cry, a baby's cry." Jack immediately slowed down and stopped the car. The two quickly got out, walking slowly toward the sound. The closer they got, the more clearly they could hear the shrill, weak, pleading cry coming from an old, muddy cardboard box. When Xian gently opened the lid of the box, a scene that made her heart clench appeared. A newborn baby wrapped in a thin blanket, his face red from crying, his 2 tiny hands waving in the air. There was no one around, no trace of his parents or anyone else. Jack looked around, his eyebrows furrowed, then said softly, his voice serious, "Maybe this is a case of abandonment. We have to take him to a safe place right away." Xian nodded, tears welling up in her eyes, a series of questions rising in her heart. Who could be so cruel? And then they knew, the trip home today would no longer be as normal as usual. Tien gently picked up the baby, carefully holding it close to his chest to warm the small, trembling body. The baby gradually stopped crying, only making soft sobs, his eyes glistening with tears as he tried to see clearly the stranger holding him. Jack took off the thick coat he was wearing and put it on Tien and the baby, then opened the car door for them to get in. The car started moving again, but not in the direction of home. They decided to turn back to the town, where there was a small health station and the commune police station. Along the way, Tien kept her eyes on the child, her hand gently stroking its back as if to convey warmth and reassurance. She whispered soothing words, her eyes shining with worry and pain. "Whose child is this? Why was she abandoned in the middle of nowhere like this?" she said, her voice trembling. Jack tightened his grip on the steering wheel, his gaze tense ahead. Maybe something happened to her family, or maybe this is the result of something more serious, he replied quietly. When they arrived at the health station, they were greeted by an old nurse. She sighed when she saw the baby, then quickly took him inside for a health check. Meanwhile, Jack and Tien were invited to make a report to the local police. As they wrote down the details, they realized something strange. The box did not contain any paper with names or identification. Nor did it contain anything other than a small piece of cloth embroidered with a red lotus flower. Tien held the piece of cloth tightly in her hand, sensing that something was wrong. A nagging question echoed in her mind: who was this baby? And why did fate push the baby into their hands at this exact moment? Tien left the medical station in the fading light, still clutching the red lotus embroidered cloth, the only thing left from that mysterious box. Jack walked beside her, occasionally turning to look at her, as if caught up in the same thought. Neither of them said anything, but they both knew deep down, this was more than just a chance encounter. The way the baby appeared, at the exact moment they passed that deserted road, it all seemed like it had been planned. That evening, when they got home, Tien sat pensively at the table, placed the piece of cloth on the wooden surface, and flipped it over and over again. Jack, this embroidery doesn't look like industrial sewing. Look closely. It's handmade. Each stitch is very even and delicate. Maybe someone put their last hope in this piece of cloth. Jack nodded, then turned on the computer to look it up. He entered the keyword, red lotus embroidery, traditional identification mark. A series of information appeared, but there was one line that startled both of them: the red lotus, the symbol of an old orphanage. Closed more than 20 years ago in the western suburbs of town. The question now was no longer, who abandoned the baby? But, was the child related to some secret that had been buried for a long time? And if you think this is just a random story, then prepare yourself, because what Tien and Jack are about to discover will take them on a strange journey, where every clue leads to a dark past. Do you dare to follow them, to discover the truth behind that roadside box?
Từ hôm đó khi đã về đến nhà, Từ Tiên ngồi trầm ngâm bên bàn, đặt mảnh vải lên mặt gỗ rồi lật qua lật lại nhiều lần, xác hình theo này không giống hàng may công nghiệp đến kỹ đi. Nó được làm bằng tay, từng mũi chỉ rất đều và tinh tế. Có thể ai đó đã đặt niềm hy vọng cuối cùng vào mảnh vải này. Đã gật đầu rồi mở máy tính ra tra cứu. Anh nhập từ khóa hình tiêu hoa sen đỏ, dấu hiệu nhận dạng truyền thống. Một loạt thông tin hiện ra, nhưng có một dòng khiến cả hai giật mình. Hoa sen đỏ, biểu tượng của một dã trẻ mồ côi cũ đã đóng cửa cách đây hơn 20 năm ở vùng ngoại ô phía tây thị trấn. Câu hỏi lúc này không còn là ai đã bỏ rơi em bé nữa, mà là liệu đứa bé có liên quan đến bí mật nào đó đã bị chôn giấu rất lâu.